If you're new to the membership or courses area, you might find, wow, there's a lot of settings going on. There's a lot that I can do. And you might even be creating your offers in there. However, if you are coming up in a situation where you use multiple currencies, this might become a headache. So what I want to do is cover how it works, some of the nuances when it comes to currency management, as well as, in my opinion, the best and most robust way to manage it, especially when you have complex situations where you might be in one country and you charge in a different currency, or you just serve folks in multiple currencies. This video is for you. Let's hop into the dashboard here, and you can kind of see I already have, the funnels by default are now showing yen. I'm going to go over into settings, and for the business profile, some areas when it comes to currency are actually managed by the country that you've set for your account. And so if I, change it over to Canada and update that, and then if I just go back to our dashboard here, you can see it's set to the Canadian dollar there. And so that's helpful to understand. It doesn't actually apply to another little nuanced area that we're going to get into. But what I anticipate is in the future, they may correct some of the limitations that I'm going to cover in today's video. And so depending on how far in the future you're watching this, that might be all you need to do, is just consider that the actual country set for the account is what's going to determine some of the default currency settings there. You can see that in the dashboard, shows up in reports as well. But let's go over to memberships and go into courses. So for memberships, there are products, which is essentially the lessons, the courses, if you will. Like I might have a training on, how to do X, Y, and Z, and that would be a product. Then offers can be bundles of different lessons, if you will, or products as they're called inside of here. And so if I have a true offering that might have 3 stages, I've got, the beginner, the intermediate, and the advanced version, and all of those are included inside of my membership offering, so that when someone comes to the membership area, they see 3 different tiles. That would be assembled into an offer. And actually, regardless of if you have one or many, you have to bundle them under an offer, because an offer is how someone actually gets access to the membership area there. So helpful to understand that structure. You have products, which are essentially the lessons or the actual training blocks. They get bundled into an offer. You might have just one offer including one product, but the offer is how they actually get access to it. And then in the future, if you add to an offering, you just come in here and you edit these, and it'll show up more of those membership blocks and membership items there. Inside of the offer settings, there are a couple things. So within an offer, you can have a built-in native checkout. That's where you come into currency questions here. So this is like, okay, cool. I've put this together in an offer. It's asking me things like, what is my offer pricing? If we get into there, a lot of times it doesn't really matter. But so for me personally, I often set things to free, not because it's actually for free, but because I manage the payments and access independent of the offer page. I don't typically use the offer checkout flow because of some of the limitations that I'm going to cover today. But it continues to become more robust. So I could see some folks wanting to just use this, and you can absolutely can't see options of it. Can be free. They could do a one-time payment, or you could do it as a recurring subscription here. But so you'll notice, here's a great example. Even under one-time payment, I have set my country currency or my country inside of this account to Canada. And when I come into the options here for currency for setting the price, I only can choose USD. So this is where it becomes an issue. So if you are set to a different country, or you want to be using a different country, and you're trying to set a payment flow through the native, options here, it's not going to work for you. So what you do to overcome this is you build it in the payments area. You can set up a offer product, a membership product, and then you can set the currency to whatever you want. You also have a lot more flexibility in terms of payment providers, because the native courses area here, I say native, but just the default courses membership area is limited to Stripe. So this also applies if you're wanting to use a different kind of payment processor outside of Stripe. So in here, limited to Stripe, also limited to USD. I am not certain if this actually when I say it's limited to USD, it might be limited to whatever setting you have in Stripe. However, I actually think this is still limited independent of that. If you want, we could maybe later on, I'll come back in the video and we'll test that. I believe I've tested it before, and it even if you change the setting inside of Stripe, this is still going to come up USD just in this area. So that being said, my preferred method is I create an offer over here, which is great. And then I actually come over to payments and I use the payments area to create a product. So in payments and then product. And so here's a great, so by default, I created one over there and there's our demo course. I'm going to go ahead and create a new product. I'm not going to include it in the store. I'm not going to use it as a SaaS product there. I am going to set it up as a membership offering there. And so we'll come through, and this is called our awesome membership. Tax settings here. We can include tax or not. Set our pricing. And so here you see it defaults to my country that I've set inside of my account. But now I actually do have a selector, and I can be like, oh, I want to set it into this currency. And so just that alone, just that drop-down selector allows you to, okay, now you can pick whichever currency that applies, and you can actually set this. So if I was to do my one-time fee again for $15, and then here's the next setting. Under additional options, I have membership offers. I'm going to turn on membership offers and say, well, what do you want to access? And that was my demo course there. So if you are dealing with complex currency or just a situation where you want to use something other than your default country of origin, you got multiple, and we'll confirm this later on. If you're not using USD, this is the workaround to do that. So you go ahead and you create the product, you set your currency and your price, you make it a membership offer, and it goes here. And so what this means now is if someone purchases this product anywhere, because what's happening is there's a sync going on. I mean, in my situation, it's between Stripe, but that means I could use a different checkout. I could be on Shopify, and if they purchase in Shopify, but they purchase this product, it's going to grant them access to this membership. So the membership access is tied to the actual product in Stripe or whatever payment processor, because now you have going this route, you open up a lot more. So and it's independent. So if I come back now, there's our awesome membership. Under integrations, I now have a lot more options here. You see, I've got Stripe, but if I want to do PayPal, Authorize.net, NMI, and there's literally like hundreds more that you could pick from. So depending on what kind of payment processors you want to use, now you can just set up your payment processor in the payments area, go to the products, create the product, make it a membership product, and now you can sell that independent of the typical flow. So the extra add-on within the system now that you'd have to do is create a funnel. So to create the funnel, you could do something very similar to the basic checkout page that is by default within the membership builder there. So I'm just going to go and say, this is our sales page. Buy, create a step right there. Yeah, we'll go create from blank. And so the nice thing is actually some of the default sections, these pre-built sections, can get you pretty close. So I think something like this, honestly, is a here, I'll go light mode instead of dark mode. Looks pretty darn good. And then to get this all to work inside of one page, if you want to kind of here's the description of what you're getting. What I'll typically do is put the checkout inside of a pop-up here. So it's already there. By default, it opens the pop-up. We come to our pop-up. Come back to there. We want to edit our pop-up. Not liking my pop-up right now, but there we go. Add a row. I don't think there's a, let's see, stores. I don't think there's a checkout design pre-built that I like. And it's It's probably because it's really contained entirely within the actual checkout object here. So we don't even need to do that. We're going to add our row, single row, and then add our element. And it's literally, what is it? Oh, here it is. Your 2-step or your 1-step. So do something like that. I've got my 1-step checkout, and then I can turn on and off the fields that I care about and be like, okay, you can change the words to make it apply. But if I don't need, I don't need the company there, I simplify that. If I don't even need the shipping, you can hide that. So this is getting closer to what the default information looks like, where it's like, just give me your name, email, phone number. That's sufficient. You can even, hide more of these. You're like, okay, I really just need your name and email, and then I need your payment information, and that's good. And then if you want to kind of like add another element just for design purposes, we can come down below, and I'll add a headline and reinforce that they're buying. And within the pop-up settings too, you can kind of like change the look and feel if you want to do a larger pop-up and like a full page one, and then you could change this to like a side by side and have something more like an image here. Totally up to you. If I was doing that though, I'd want to really slim. I'd want to try and match the appearance. But you could either bundle those together, just do a single column, really do your design preferences. But so this is what is required. You build out a checkout page. We'll go ahead and save that. I showed you the pre-saved element is pretty nice and looks good and gets you kind of quickly there. And then just the 2-step or the 1-step checkouts for the actual purchase there. And so within the funnel, so it's like, we're here. That's great, Matt. You still have to add the product to the funnel, which is just in the step here. We go to products, tab for it. We add the product, and then we choose, I think that was my awesome membership. The same one we created. And then it's got that one price at 15, and you're good to go. So now the products are managed outside of the funnel. The design and settings and language are managed inside of the funnel. And this is that workaround. So for complete currency flexibility for the membership area, really the trick is, or the process there is, to not use the default checkout flow and instead build it as a funnel and then manage the product independently. And that helps you for different currencies as well as different checkout options. Now, I did mention that we want to take a look and see if changing our stripe settings corresponds to the settings over here. Okay, so within Stripe, I want to change the currency, the default currency. You have to do it via bank. So I don't think I'm going to be able to. Let's see. You'll need to add a bank associated with this currency. And I can't even set, can I set this as the default? See if it'll let me do it. Okay, so I've changed it. I've updated the default currency here over to Canadian dollar. Just gonna do a little refresh because this is connected to that Stripe account. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, I do not believe that this is going to work. However, just to be absolutely certain, I don't believe this is going to work, but just to be absolutely certain, we're gonna test it out for you. So now this Stripe account is connected to, Canadian dollar, and it still does not reflect there. So here's what I anticipate. So for right now, time of the video release, that's the workaround. It's still the most robust method. It's my preferred method as opposed to using the default kind of course checkout builder flow here with upsells and all that sort of process. I understand this could be easier, simplify the process. My preference is the workaround that I just described there. And there's kind of two scenarios that I anticipate in the future might happen. This could be remedied, and then there'll be a drop down here, which makes it super simple. Then you'll no longer even search for this video. Or this will be tied to the either the Stripe setting or the more commonly the account setting for the location. So based on the geography, it defaults to a currency. But for right now, that is the best workaround. And if you find this helpful, please smash that like button. Let me know down in the comments, what are you wanting me to build next? We're here releasing videos almost every single day, and feel free to subscribe, join us for the journey, and I'll see you on the next video.